माननीय श्री सुखेंदु शेखर राय जी।
At the outset, I may please be allowed to give a short background of the 2019 Act, that is New Delhi International Arbitration Center Act. Before
I think the microphone on your side is not working.
Before I deal with the present bill, there's short background. If I refer to the Act of 2019, it says inter alia, and I quote, and whereas the International Center, there was an International Center for Alternative Dispute Resolution. There was an institute, center, and it was set up in the year 1995 under the aegis of central government and registered under the Societies Act as mentioned by Vivek Tankarji. Now, whereas the International Center for Alternative Dispute Resolution has not been able to actively engage and embrace developments in the arbitration ecosystem and to create a reputation par excellence keeping pace with the dynamic nature of arbitration over more than 2 decades, and whereas it has become expedient to take over the undertakings, etc. And on 2nd March 2019, an ordinance was promulgated to take over that center. Its assets, movable, immovable, everything, and the fund. So 1995, that center was set up by the central government, and it was taken over by way of promulgation of an ordinance in 2019, 2nd March. So after a lapse of how many years? 14 years. I am not questioning which government was responsible, the previous government or the present government. But the fact remains that it took 14 years for the government to understand that that society of arbitration was not functioning as per international standard or any standard. That ordinance, sir, was challenged by that center, International Center for Alternative Dispute Resolution, the earlier center, in the Delhi High Court. And Delhi High Court granted stay initially. Ultimately, it was vacated. But in between, the government was pressing hard, and the question was raised in the court. But where is the hurry? What is the hurry? Then the Learned Counsel, if I am correctly remembered, from the records, I have gone through the records, the Learned Counsel appearing for the government said, and I quote one line only, that we, mean the government, have committed before the World Bank that by 19th May 2019, we shall come out with some positive results. So it was committed before the World Bank by Indian government that by such and such date, we shall come out with some positive result. That was the reason for hurry. So it was hurriedly that ordinance was promulgated on the same day that old center was taken over, and thereafter, shortly thereafter, the new regime came in 2019, as you know, we all of us know, and the cabinet passed a resolution for approving this New Delhi International Arbitration Center bill. And the bill came to Lok Sabha on 10th of July 2019, and Rajya Sabha passed it on 18th July 2019, within a gap of 8 days. And that act, the original act of 2019, when in the form of the bill, it was neither referred to standing committee, nor it was discussed by any select committee. Why I am referring to all these things, these developments? Because the government was under the pressure from the World Bank. Not that the government's intention that is being spelled out now, that we want to develop international center, etc., institute of national importance, That was not the real intention. Intention was the pressure of the World Bank. Be that as it may. Now, it is said that the only purpose for bringing this bill, amendment bill, to change amend the name of the institution from New Delhi to India, and some other small errors which also require to be amended or rectified. My question is to the Honorable Minister that whether rules and regulations have been framed during the past 3 years under this Act, whether the objects and the functions to be exercised by this arbitration center already set up, whether how many, to what extent these have been fulfilled. For example, the section 14 of the 2019 Act says, and I quote, objects of center. I'm not going into details, only bullet points. To bring targeted reforms to develop itself as a flagship institution for conducting international and domestic arbitration. To promote research, study, providing teaching, training, etc. To provide facilities and administrative assistance for conciliation, mediation, and arbitral proceedings. To maintain panels of accredited arbitrators, conciliators. Even in the opening remarks, the Honorable Minister said that we want to create the panel of arbitrators, etc. So my question is, during the past 3 years, how many of these objects have been implemented by the government? And Section 15 of the same Act, 2019 Act, original Act, it says and contains certain provisions to, number one, to facilitate, 15A, to facilitate for conducting international domestic arbitration in the most professional manner, to provide cost-effective and timely services for the conduct of arbitration and conciliation at national and international level, to promote studies, etc., etc., etc. Now, there are 7 such functions to be performed by the New Delhi International Arbitration Center. My question to the Honorable Minister is whether this institution has at all become functional as per Section 15 of the Act during the past 3 years, and if so, to what extent? Now, sir, there is nothing more to elaborate or elucidate, because I should confine myself to the present bill. Now, why New Delhi and why India? That has been explained by the Honorable Minister very carefully and very nice manner. That there are so many institutions under the name and style of New Delhi Arbitration Center, etc. And government has come to understand this or know this after a lapse of 3 years. When the 2019 bill was originated, neither the legislative department nor the law ministry as a whole or any other authority of the government, they were not aware of existence of such New Delhi arbitration centers in the country. It took 3 years to know and understand and to come before the parliament to spoil its time, valuable time, for the change of the name. And with this speed, we are going to establish an international center of excellence for arbitration, mediation, etc. Who will come to India? Those who are going to Stockholm or Paris or London or Singapore, will they come to India if we move in this direction with such time that we took 3 years to change the name of the institution? Sir, and so far I understand, that neither the rule nor the regulation has been framed under this act. So, government is now only concerned for change of the name to show that here is a bigger arbitration center. For the past 14 years, nothing happened. We have done it. What you have done it, you have come with a bill to change the name. I say, I'm not opposing. Don't laugh at me, I'm not opposing. I'm putting some relevant questions, and I shall be happy if you satisfy this, anybody, any member of this House, by replying to these questions. I will be the happiest person. Now, what is in a name? It reminds me, the Act 2, Scene 2, of the epoch-making drama of William Shakespeare,
Very popular.
Romeo and Juliet,
Very popular.
wherein the Juliet's famous soliloquy was, and I quote, "What's in a name? What is in a name? That which we call a rose by any other name would smell as sweet," unquote. So,
क्या बात है पूरा?
Juliet meant to say that Romeo would still have all the perfection he had, even if he were not called Romeo. So whether it is called Romeo, whether it is called New Delhi or India, it matters to me, it matters little to me, as frankly speaking, personally speaking. And because I know those who will be interested in international arbitration, it will be meaningless whether it is New Delhi or India, because everybody knows that New Delhi is the capital of India. But even though the smell of the rose, New Delhi, is not less than the name of India. Both the smell of both the roses, the New Delhi and India, if not same, but not to be undermined. Similar is the question regard to this arbitration center.
More than 12 minutes.
Finally, sir, there is a trend, and I must say, that without any reason or rhyme, there is renaming of roads, railway stations, places, stadium, medical colleges. So therefore, whether by introducing such bill today for change of a name on Act, whether it will be a regular feature in the future for renaming other acts also. Thank you, sir.
क्या बात है पूरा?
Thank you, Honourable Member. Honourable Shri P. Wilson ji.
Thank you, Vice